Hey guys, I'm Abby.
And I'm Keith.
Welcome to our 80s Life podcast. Today we're talking about Beverly Hills Cop. All right, we have some new guests tonight. Please welcome Drew and Jean.
Oh, welcome to the party.
Welcome to the party. And you guys know our friends Susan and Mark, the mixologist. Also known as Mark. We just watched the movie, so it's fresh. And I'm very excited because there's going to be a new one that's coming out.
Yes, on July 3rd, right?
July 3rd, right away, like next week.
And the trailer looks awesome. But today we're here to talk about the original, the OG Beverly Hills Cop. Everyone has seen it, right? Before this.
Multiple
times. You've seen it before.
Yes.
In the 80s.
A while back.
All right, so this is not your first time. So it was released on December 5th, 1984. And the question I had for you, has it held up over 40 years?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I would agree.
Still funny.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, is it my turn?
Makes me laugh every time.
Yes, it has. Yeah, we were laughing out loud many times.
All right, so what was your favorite part of the movie?
There's so many great lines throughout it.
Yeah.
And there's so many different character pieces, just voices, and Serge.
Serge.
It's hilarious.
Yeah.
Serge.
I'm fine. My name is Serge, and how can I help you?
I can't name just one. I mean, that piece, I love when he goes into the Harrow Club and he's talking to the guy and saying he's got herpes simplex. And he's like, I think you better go tell him that
You
yourself.
should probably tell him that.
I find out that I have herpes simplex 10.
Perhaps you better tell him that.
That was funny.
His comedic timing and his facial expressions, his laugh, everything.
His laugh is awesome.
I've probably seen this one at least 10 times, and every time I crack up.
But we got to ask you, what was your favorite, or did you have a favorite scene?
All of the funny scenes. I'm a sucker for great comedy. Eddie Murphy's. You were asking if it stands up over the generations. Yeah, definitely. Eddie Murphy and the movie, of course, it stands up.
Do you think that's his real laugh? Like in real life?
Yeah, I think that's got to be. It's got to be. Can't make that up.
Jean, did you have a favorite moment?
I think I'm with Mark. There were bits and pieces. I think I liked characters, throughout the movie. So
yeah,
that were my favorites.
Yeah, Abby mentioned we picked up on something new tonight when he pulled up in front of the club and he gets out of the blue old Chevy beat-up Nova and he tells the valet guy, hey, make sure you park this car in a nice place because last time y'all really screwed this car up.
All this stuff happened to my car.
All of this happened last time. That was great.
Movies today don't have those little one-liners just throughout them. I mean, in the 80s, we had so many great movies with comedians that were such good ad-lib guys. When he switches voices and makes fun of the police chief and does is this the man?
Yeah,
and then when he tells the one guy, he's like, well, I'm going to fall for the banana in my tailpipe.
Not going to fall for the banana in the tailpipe?
You nailed it, by the way.
We knew Mark would work that in.
Yeah. But all the different little voices and just little one-liners that you can tell just happened ad-lib. I'm sure that wasn't in the script to do that.
I bet a lot of scenes were.
Yeah, and I think there's a whole bunch that get like, here's the script, it's going to be this, and they just get in and start going.
Imagine being the editor on that movie. How fun.
I'd be laughing so hard I wouldn't be able to do any editing.
And a lot of pressure, like which jokes are we going to leave in?
Yeah.
Well, there's, I think it's one of the scenes with the lieutenant who becomes the police chief and the other ones that was in RoboCop, that guy, that actor.
Yeah.
But with Bogomil.
I just call him Dick Jones because that's all I can remember.
That's what he was in
RoboCop.
Right. There's a part in there, if you watch, Axel starts to say something, or Eddie starts to say something in there, and you can see him start to crack a smile.
Oh, I didn't
like
catch
he got
that.
him. Like you can tell he's just going on some story.
Great.
Like it was a Super Cop story.
The Super Cop story was working.
Oh, the Super Cop was so funny.
But you watch Bogomil, he's trying to be serious in that, and there's a point where he kind of cracks a smile, and then he catches. You can see him get control of himself.
And then he tells the other guys, he's like, that lie was working. Who has a favorite character? What's your favorite characters?
Well, for sure, Eddie Murphy.
Yeah. I mean, obviously.
Besides Eddie, oh gosh.
That goes without saying.
Rosewood.
I like Rosewood too. Judge Reinhold.
Yeah, Judge Reinhold.
Judge Reinhold.
But Taggart's pretty funny too. I don't know.
He's cute.
Serge and the accent.
Yes.
I don't know how he did that. I think that was all made up and on the spot. Very cool.
My name is Axel Foley. Achmel, Achwell, Axel. And what is pertaining?
I didn't understand what you said.
Pertaining, what it's meaning, regarding.
Oh, what's it regarding?
When we were watching that initially, I was like, oh, man, it reminds me of his accent as Balky in Perfect Strangers.
Of course, no, don't be ridiculous.
And this show came first. Do you think that was an inspiration for
Balky
character? Yeah. I tend to think it was.
He's stupid.
I would agree.
Okay, other favorite characters besides those? I agree with Susan. I think all us girls liked Rosewood. Rosewood. I just think Judge Reinhold is so cute. I love his baby face puppy dog eyes. He always looks like very innocent. And then when he actually shot somebody, he's like, whoa, I did that.
I like Taggart. He was like, he's all tough on the exterior, but he's really ill softy. Yeah.
I like Victor Maitland, the bad guy. What a great bad guy. He's always so polite until a couple of scenes where he loses it with him, and then he's back to being super nice and polite again.
I wonder if that guy was, if the actor was in anything else. Like, is he, I don't remember him from anything else, but.
Victor Maitland, though.
Yeah, Victor Maitland.
I think he's a bad guy in some other movies, too, but I can't remember.
He was in a James Bond movie.
Okay.
And the only reason I know, I looked it up before this, but I didn't look to see which one. But I'm sure he was probably the bad guy.
Yes.
He just looks like a bad guy.
He seems like a typecast bad guy, but a really good one.
It's like an Alan Rickman type of bad guy.
Yeah.
That reminds me of what I think might be my favorite scene, though, is when Axel throws the guy across the buffet, and then Victor tells him,
Stay.
can you teach him other tricks, too? Sit and roll
And he's
over.
standing there with whipped cream and like a cherry here on his forehead.
Perfect.
You could do favorite character just on the different characters that Eddie Murphy played. You know,
Yeah.
like the drunk guy, Philip, or when he's the gay guy going to see Victor Maitland there.
I love his white guy impression too.
Yeah, he does
His white guy impression is probably my favorite.
What a silly Negro.
when he's the federal inspector in the bond warehouse.
Oh, my God.
Fine, I'll get some help right now. Is that your Porsche up front?
They're all my favorites.
We need to talk about the soundtrack because the soundtrack for this movie is amazing. Grammys were won, lots of hits. The three main hits, of course, Axel F, which we're going to hear again in the new one. That was written by Harold Faltermeyer. He's a German. He's still alive and active in the industry. And I did not realize, I was today years old when I realized that he wrote the theme song for Top Gun, which is so memorable and kind of different from this one. And then next month, we're going to watch Fletch. And he also did the music for Fletch, which has a very similar sort of synth wave, new wave vibe that, you'll recognize right away. He did win a Grammy for this one. Axel F reached #1 on the dance charts and #3 on the Billboard charts, which for an instrumental song is pretty rare.
I didn't realize how much Axel F actually got played during the movie, but I mean,
Yeah, we should have counted them.
I wonder how many minutes of that movie
It's a
Axel
lot.
F is playing in it, because it's in a lot of the background scenes.
Well, what's funny is there's one of the car chases where they hop in the car and they're driving, doing something, and it goes into just that not Axel F, but the synthetic vibe
Yes.
thing.
Yeah.
And I'm like
the
boy,
refrain.
This sounds just like that part in Fletch when he checks the fluorocarbons and he's racing in that
It
car.
is.
And,
It is
and then
very
when you said
much,
that, I'm
yeah.
like, oh, wow.
Harold Faltermeyer, he's got a very distinctive style.
Do y'all remember jamming out to that?
I actually had the cassette tape
You did
of
for
the Beverly Hills Cop soundtrack.
for the soundtrack.
Yep.
The soundtrack was really good.
I could pop that in the Firebird and go cruising around with the T-tops off.
Heck yeah.
I can
Jamming
see
some
Mark
A-
cruising with some
jamming some Axel F going, yeah.
He's got a little. You see Mark.
Oh, just cruising. T-tops going.
I could see that.
I was probably wearing my parachute pants and jump out and do a little break dance.
Your members only jacket.
Oh, yeah.
My goodness.
Wearing my headband.
You didn't have the
My
Michael
bandana.
Jackson leather jacket.
Oh, there was two.
yeah.
Those two guys in the intro there.
Yeah, no, I never wore anything like that, ever.
I actually got
Just
one
the
of
pants.
those. I got one of those jackets. I begged my mom for the red jacket, the red Beat It one with all the zippers.
Yeah.
Begged my mom for that jacket at Kmart. She goes, "You'll never wear that." And I was like, "No, I promise I'll wear it." She bought it for me. Never wore it. But man, I wish I still had that thing.
I tried to get one too, but my parents said no.
They said no.
because they knew I would never wear that thing.
They were right.
Yeah.
How about this one?
Glenn Fry?
Glenn Fry. Yeah.
Glenn Fry. Okay, so this is interesting. This one was actually written for the movie, and he reached #2 on the Billboard. So it actually beat out Axel
Wow.
F.
What was #1 that didn't?
Oh, it was REO Speedwagon. Can't Fight This Feeling Anymore.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, which is a solid
Yeah.
ballad, classic ballad. And then how about this one? Little Pointer Sisters.
Is it Pointer Sisters? Is that
Yes.
what it was? Yeah.
So Neutron Dance, it was written by someone else for another movie called Streets of Fire, and I don't even know if they ended up using it. And it's a good thing they used it in this movie because it was a more acclaimed movie than Streets of Fire, which I've never heard of.
You've never seen Streets of Fire?
No. Did I miss out?
It's got that guy that played in Eddie and the Cruisers.
Okay. The guy.
They
I
played
know
Eddie.
who you're
I don't
talking
know his
about.
name, but,
I don't know
but
his
he's
name.
a lot bigger, and it's this weird, like, escape from
End of
New
the
York,
world
end
kind
of
of
world
deal.
type thing, but they
Yeah.
find a way to sing and dance in it. And
We need to add that to our rotation then
list.
apparently.
it's a really awful 80s movie, but it's one of those. It's like Beastmaster, but you got to see it.
It's like it's awful, but you got to watch it.
yeah, it's one of those.
So Neutron Dance gets picked up by Pointer Sisters and is a huge hit from this movie. Reached number 6 on the Billboard, and it was also in the second film, and then it's going to be again in the new Axel F.
So many of these 80s movies had such great scores, great things that, again, lasted for many generations, and even today, the young people, like, they know these songs. They don't know where they're from, but they know these songs.
I can hear that song and immediately think
Yeah, you know
Beverly
where
Hills
it's from.
Cop.
Yeah, you know exactly where it's
Yeah,
from.
same with the Glenn
Neutron
Fry
Dance
song.
or Glenn Fry's. Yeah.
But like the second one did the Bob Seger Shakedown song.
Oh yeah, that's right.
That was the main Glenn Fry song for that movie.
He did the main song for Miami Vice too, right?
Smuggler's Blues.
That's probably a key theme in the 80s that if you had a popular movie, you probably had to have a popular soundtrack to go with it.
Yeah.
Just think about that. We're talking about Top Gun.
We've got Footloose. We've got Breakfast Club over there. We've got
Because
Pretty in Pink.
You know what all those movies had that you had to have a piece of was music videos.
Yeah.
Because you had
Oh,
MTV
yeah, yeah,
going all day
That's
long.
true.
We don't have that today.
Yeah, true.
And when they were on a movie, sometimes they would have the actors be in the music video, which is fun.
Yeah.
Not always, but sometimes, or they would have a little clip or whatever.
You were saying something earlier about, kids today wanting to know what was it like in the 80s. Mm-hmm. First off, can they even imagine an MTV where it was just videos all day long? You could just flip the channel anytime you wanted and watch a music video, and your song, whatever you liked at that point, would be coming
was on, yeah.
somewhere in the next hour.
And we got to see what the artists looked like
Yeah.
right away, right out of the gate.
And if it was tied into a movie at the time, it's like,
Sure.
I got to go see that movie because
Yeah.
that video looks really good, and the clips from the movie that are in it look really great.
Mm-hmm.
And we just don't get that today.
No.
And MTV was in the news last week because they actually got rid of MTV News, which I didn't even realize was still a thing, but they were still doing it online, and they just blew up the whole site. It's gone. They just deleted the site. Remember Kurt Loder? He would do the MTV
Yeah.
News.
I'm Kurt Loder. This is MTV News. Stay tuned for more music on MTV.
MTV News. You hear it first.
I mean, MTV News was important. We had to know what was going on. It wasn't just what radio song we were listening to, but I feel like we knew a lot more behind the scenes about what was going on with the artist and who was dating who and, what scandal was happening or whatever. They just blew up their site and just said, we're done.
Well, let's face it, about weekly it was which artist OD'd on drugs and whether or not they were still
Maybe
alive.
it was getting a little too negative.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's probably true.
No good news.
That's probably true. They're like, we don't need this anymore. Delete.
Why do you think that Beverly Hills Cop became such a cultural phenomenon back in the 80s?
Had to be Eddie Murphy.
Yeah, Eddie
He's coming off the stardom of Saturday Night Live being kind of the second crew.
But we,
Yes.
All of that. Mr. Robinson's Neighborhood.
You know what a fire escape is, boys and girls?
Thank you for that warm round of applause.
But if you think about Saturday Night Live, originally was John Belushi, Steve Martin, all those guys.
Yeah.
So this was the next group coming in with Eddie Murphy and those guys. And they really had kind of turned the show over. And then they were all branching off into their movie careers and, stand-up shows. Kind of just perfect timing. He was
the funniest guy at the time, right? Yeah.
I think he's still one of the funniest. I think it was also just a perfect combination of his talent, a good group of actors, a solid storyline, good music.
It was like the complete package.
Yeah, and then a lot of memorable lines.
Yeah.
yes.
I mean, any movie that you can just quote something 40 years later.
My good friends got to go and see it in the movie theater, but I wasn't allowed to because it was rated R, which I can see why, because it has a lot of language.
Yeah, it does.
But my friends got to see it, and then they came back, and then I was hanging out, and they kept laughing about the one-liners, and they all kept saying something about the banana and the tailpipe. I'm not going to fall for that banana and the tailpipe. And I felt very left out because I was like, I don't know what they're talking about, but it sounds hilarious. So I was glad when I finally got old enough to watch it.
I was only 14 when it came out, but my dad took me.
Yeah, I remember seeing the theater as well.
I mean,
my mom would take me to.
Your parents were cool.
Yeah.
But I mean, think about the genre of this type of movie from back in the 80s. Because I don't know that they make a movie that's like this now. I mean, back then you had action movies, right? You had Schwarzenegger and Stallone movies.
RoboCop.
Indiana Jones.
RoboCop type stuff. And then you had kids movies, or you had comedy movies, romantic comedies, things like that. So this was kind of that blend of just 3 or 4 genres
good
put
point.
together. You could do it as a date movie. Girls wanted to see it. Guys wanted to see it. There was just enough action that guys were like, yeah, there's stuff blowing up and car chases. But it
That
wasn't,
opening scene.
but it wasn't way too action-packed. It was
Yeah.
like, I don't want to go see this movie. If it was a date night kind of thing. Had some action, had some laughter, and it told a good story.
Police movie with comedy was probably a little bit of a unique thing. Although Police Academy, I think,
Academy,
had
that's a
been
good
out.
one,
So
yeah.
maybe it was partly the success of that was driving the police movie.
That was comedy. That
It
wasn't
was.
really action.
It was more comedy than action, yeah.
And then
for
take
sure.
about Eddie Murphy and say, okay, he was a great comedian, but he wasn't the greatest action star. He wasn't Stallone or Schwarzenegger, but he pulled it off.
Yeah, I think that's probably why I like it, because I don't like a movie that's got too much action and not enough dialogue or comedy or whatever. So, yeah, I think that's probably why it really appeals to me.
One of my favorite scenes of this movie is when Axel pulls up to the Beverly Hills Hotel, and he's in his blue Chevy Nova, and the bellhop guy comes out there, and he has that little duffel bag.
Yeah.
And that resonates with me because when I was a kid, when we went on trips, we loaded up in the Honda Prelude, which is a 2-door car, and we would go from Texas up to Canada and back. We went to New York City, and now the Honda Prelude has a pretty small trunk, so we didn't use traditional luggage. We used bags and duffel bags and things that were, that were soft, and you could kind of mold them to the shape. So we pull up to this fancy hotel in New York City because it's the only place we could find because there was like no vacancies anywhere. And the look on that bellhop's face when we opened his trunk was the same look that guy gave
that's great.
Axel Foley. So every time I see that, I chuckle because I've seen that look before.
That's great.
Did he carry your bag in with like 2 fingers the way that guy was
Like he's
thinking?
scared to touch it.
I think we told him we'd take care of it ourselves, and he was like, thank goodness.
Speaking of the hotel, that was the Biltmore Hotel, which is still exists and still a hotel. And it's been seen in other movies. It was in Ghostbusters. The one where we first see Slimer, that was the Biltmore also. And they are going to be using it again in this new Axel F movie. So we'll see that one. But they changed the name. They called it the Beverly Palm Hotel.
And it's really not in Beverly Hills, right? It's in L.A.
I think it's in L.A.
It's in L.A.,
yeah. But it's called the Biltmore. So I thought that was pretty cool. And then the opening scene was actually filmed in Detroit, unlike RoboCop, who supposed to be in Detroit, but they're never in Detroit. They actually filmed it in Detroit, and that opening scene I thought was impressive.
Yeah.
They did a lot of damage to a lot of vehicles.
We were mentioning that earlier. Man, wow. That was a lot of cars that they wrecked.
Yeah, I'd like to get a count on that.
And like Abby said, don't be late to this movie. You can't walk in 5 minutes late, getting your candy and popcorn.
The whole storyline is like the first 10 minutes. Yeah.
It's the first 20 car crash.
Yeah, that too. And when he's hanging at the back of the truck on the chain, just flying around, it's a lot of cigarettes.
It seems so lame now.
So 80s.
Contraband cigarettes.
Well, I noticed at one point Jenny is smoking just in the art gallery.
Right. That's right.
And why was Maitland wearing I also had a question.
Oh, that robe.
The robe thing.
Yes,
with the robe.
I've never noticed that.
Over his dress clothes.
Yeah. I'd never noticed that.
Glad I'm not the only one who
I've seen
questioned
it.
that.
Yeah.
I guess he was just supposed to be like super swanky. Like, I don't know.
Well, I mean,
Could have been a
didn't
smoking
men
jacket.
wear like robes? I've seen
To
movies
work?
where they're in a dress shirt and a tie, and they have a robe. Like
At the office?
Not the office, but like at home, like they're walking around.
Sure.
Am I the only one
That's the way I roll.
see that? I mean,
Some strange things going on in your house.
anymore,
Some
but
silk robes at home.
Drew's like, what's wrong with that?
Noted. I don't see a problem.
I didn't know you liked that.
Yes. That's right.
Now you know what to get him for Christmas.
Yes.
More ties and robes.
Ties and robes.
Maybe it was so he didn't get his jacket dirty when he was killing people.
There we
Take
go.
care of people.
He usually just had his henchmen do that.
It was the 80s. He might have just gotten out of the tanning bed,
Yeah.
and that's what he
That's
threw
That's
on.
probably what it was. He
just
did
at
look
the
nice
gym.
and tan. Yeah.
It was nice and tan.
And apparently he's Capricorn.
Oh, yeah. I love the improv. How much of that was just made up?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
so funny.
I have to wonder. Maybe I'll look it up now.
That's so funny.
I think my favorite dialogue was with Inspector Todd, though.
Okay, which
Oh,
part?
you still got some butt left?
Yeah.
He didn't get it all?
When Axel's getting chewed out after the cigarette debacle.
Yes.
I mean,
he was a great actor.
I love Inspector Todd.
We don't get to see him again at the end, but his first 10 minutes or whatever he was in was solid acting.
Gilbert Hill.
Nice job, Gilbert Hill.
That scene right there probably inspired a lot of my conversations with teachers when I was in high school. You know, where they're yelling at you about something, and he's bawling Axel out, and he's like, I really think what's at issue here is my blatant disrespect.
Yes.
I think I used that line many times.
Nice distraction. So we just watched the trailer for the new Axel F, and we were all excited to see a lot of our favorite characters are coming back. We're getting Taggart. We're getting Rosewood. Of course, Eddie Murphy, obviously. Who else?
Serge.
Bronson.
Serge.
Bronson Pinchot.
Mark's
Serge.
favorite.
Serge is back.
We didn't recognize him at first. He has a blonde wig in this one.
He looked like Owen Wilson for a minute.
Paul Reiser.
Yes.
I think he has a bigger role in Beverly Hills Cop 2.
It seems like it.
Yeah, and 2 he does because he
Yeah.
wrecks the Ferrari and all
Yeah.
that stuff.
Abby's really excited for a newcomer.
Kevin Bacon.
Oh, yeah.
We were watching the trailer and I was like, oh, is that Kevin Bacon? How fun. Of course, our first movie night, we did Footloose
Oh, you did.
for the big anniversary. So
See,
just
and
comes full circle.
I'm still scarred from Footloose, and I went right past Kevin Bacon again in this one, and I was like, no, he's not in this.
Kevin Bacon.
Which
I
means
love
he's
him.
going to be the bad guy or something.
I
'cause
think
he's too
he
famous
seems
to
like
just
he
get
might
it
be
for
the
us.
bad guy, or at least the straight-laced chief guy or whatever. I don't know.
Maybe he'll do some angsty dancing in this.
You think he'll get mad at Axel and he'll run off to the gym, smoke a cigarette, drink a Miller High Life, and do some angsty dancing?
I feel like that might be asking too much.
She's
but-
hoping.
Put on cowboy boots.
All right, so who else planning on watching it?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
I think
Yeah.
we're all
Done deal.
in.
Sure.
We're all in.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay, well, how about you guys? Are y'all going to watch it? Don't forget, it starts July 3rd. We're not sponsored by Netflix, but Netflix, if you want to sponsor us, call me.
We're here for it.
Or if Eddie Murphy just wants to come hang out and buy us all dinner,
Watch party, Eddie.
Oh, we'll make
fly
you
us out. We're in.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for joining us tonight for Dinner and Movie. Thank you for watching. And we'll be back to tell you, Keith and I are going to come back and share with you what we thought about the new Axel F. And we'll see you in our next video. Bye, guys.
Bye.